Okay, um, this is for Bill and Melinda Gates. I know you're divorced. I know you're both divorced. Um, However, Bill, I, I remember distinctly back in 1990 when I first year in college. Uh, it wasn't the first time I went to college, but I was returning to college in the year 1990. And when I went to college, God made sure He's been with me all my life, you know, and He's been with you all your life because of Microsoft. He, the knowledge needed in a computer is the same as the knowledge needed for iPhone. All these things had to develop the communications for God to finally everything to work. His plan that's coming today into fruition. You want to say fruition? You want to call it that? I found out that I'm being used as God's messenger. This is just basically to tell you and Melinda separately that God's been using you two all your life. There's 7 of us that God's been using all your life. Those 7 was myself, Elon Musk, Satoshi Nakamoto, Bill Gates, Melinda Gates, Donald Trump, and you, Bill. Now, he needed you to develop Microsoft, and you did. But you also been in some bad things, and I'm calling that out. I remember in 1990 when you mentioned God made sure I heard this. It was on TV or something when you made a statement: no one needs to live past 50 years old. Wow. Who made you God? You thought you was God. You never had to really be a part of the world. You was an upper class, rich kid that didn't ever see the world for what it is. And so the thing about it was you were making decisions for the whole world, like it's saying it's overpopulated. No, what's overpopulated is the cities. And you know why the cities are overpopulated? Because people don't have no choice. Supposedly for their own protection, they group together in cities, which is really a bunch of crap, okay? That nobody has to live in the city to be protected. Because the protection in the cities is basically thugs, mugs, mobsters, criminals. That's your protection. You pay them off and they'll leave you alone. That's no way to live. Whereas, even communism started because there were farmers and rural people that couldn't fight. And they were easily taken over and then forced into the cities. Moscow. I know too much about everything, especially now that I've talked to God, and God's just openly talking to me all the time. I haven't even gone to sleep in 2 days. A lot of things are coming to mind. But what's come to my mind was 2 years ago when the doctor gave me, well, it wasn't 2 years ago, it was last year. The beginning of last year. And the beginning of last year, I met with a doctor. For 2.5 weeks, that doctor talked to me, and he had written down on a piece of paper the name of a drug. I believe it was this drug used to kill the parasite of the tsetse fly bite that basically drove everybody mad, hurting, pain, like suffering that they never had, hallucinations. The people died of terrible death. And this drug this indazole, or whatever it is, for the sleeping sickness, they call it. Is a better name. It's got a real long name. But the sleeping sickness is both in East Africa and West Africa. The East Africa was more vicious than the West. But both this quintillion, whatever it is, it was being formed, and people would take it, and they found out too it caused a lot of deaths. It has to be really carefully taken, because it relieves all the pain and suffering of this TC5 sleeping sickness. If a lot of people died in their sleep peacefully. First night's sleep they had, and they never woke up. Now, I don't know if that was the actual pill they had, but there's also drugs that are in the Netherlands and Canada. They're called euthanizing drugs for humans, where they actually help a person go to die. But you see, the New World Order that you was dealing with, you was highly involved with before you met Melinda. You know, God knows all about you, and He told me a lot about you. And you used to get involved with that, and that's one of the ways you was talking about doing it, making death a alternative to becoming 50 after 50 years old. That's where God associated it with. You made that statement back in 1990 that no one needed to be living past 50. Now the world's got a lot of things coming up on the agenda. Jeff Bezos has now put everything he's got into NVIDIA and the GPUs. The only thing that's holding him back is they might have started with linking 10 computers together. Now they going to 100, together. And then once they do that, they make it only available to certain people. So the people that control the world. Now the reason I know this is because being part of God's plan. God's plan is basically to take you 7 people. I'm not one of the 7 that has money, but you of the 6 have all kinds of money. Donald Trump's the poorest. Of course, you are up there. Jeff Bezos is up there. Elon's got the most. But God's in this for 2 reasons. Been watching out for you for a long time, because He needed Microsoft, but you got out of hand. Melinda brought you around, but she divorced you because of your relationships, and your times with Jeff Epstein and the islands. The different things that went on. She didn't trust you. You guys were married 27 years, okay? Good years. But Jesus was a blessing for you. A very big blessing for you. The only reason why you're getting a break, because of the Bill and Melinda Foundation, Gates Foundation. That's what you guys started doing right. That's what you did right for almost 20 years. You're doing the best thing in the world now with the foundation. Of course, you're only 3 years younger than me. You're 70 years old. He was born in 1955. I was born in 1952. But what I'm trying to tell you is it's not going to be hard to convince you to join God and go all in with all your money. Because if Elon goes all in with all his money, and then Satoshi goes in with all his Bitcoin, of course you're going to join in, and so is Melinda. Melinda's been prepared all her life to work beside you at Microsoft. till she was basically CEO. So she earned her way up to position. She worked right beside you. And that's the good part, because she's the part of Microsoft that God needed. She knows as much as you do about Microsoft. Of course, she wouldn't have been CEO without it if she wasn't smart enough. But she's also the part that's got the human side of her, the heart of God. She's made you the correct way. Now I don't even think in your you've gone back to what you was back in 1990 making the comments. But you see the thing when you made a statement past 50, God's given me a lot of secrets. I'm going to tell you one of the secrets, and this is going to be out in public. Within 2 years of this here, next year, 2026, God's going to release the location of like the Fountain of Youth. It's in the garden. It was in the middle of Garden Eden. It's called the Pison River. It's like 2,200 feet below the surface in Iraq, in the middle of Iraq. Everybody can start drilling for it now. It makes no difference. It's there. With the longevity of the people back then, they lived 1,000 years. Even the angels drink of this water every day. They'll live forever. Now, whoever wrote that Noah died at the age 950, well, the only people that could have wrote that were the Iraqis, one of Noah's children. You don't think Noah lived 950 years and didn't have but 3 sons? He had almost 10 wives on that ark. He had to have 10 wives on that ark. He was 600 years old. Every 60 years, he inherited a wife as a patriarch. That was an ordinance that he set, ordained. God ordained this to Adam and Eve. That after, when Eve reached 60 years old, she would no longer be able to bear children. So to prepare the firstborn daughter of the firstborn's daughter that to become a queen when she reached the years 20. So every 60 years, a third daughter was born and given to the patriarch, back to Adam. In the book of Jubilee, Adam had 22 more boys and 33 girls, and they're all listed in the book of Jubilees. Aklima was the twin of Cain, and she became his wife. Now, why did she become Cain's wife? Because he saved her. Because of the abuse of Abel. Cain killed. Abel was abusing Aklima. Either he came up on him abusing him, or he did it right in front of Cain. He either hit her or sexually abused her. They were too young to have children, so they were less than mature. Otherwise, a child was involved because there was no contraception in those days. You understand what I'm saying? So Cain could have killed Abel without any regret, any remorse, and she married him with no guilt, no force. Does that tell you she loved Abel? No, it was opposite. She was saved. God knew this. When he marked Cain as a black man. He marked him as a black man, not for people, because they come kill him. It was for the animals. Every animal, insect, fish, it didn't matter, anything on earth that could harm him, it was that sign that he had to give, because there was no other people in the world hunting him. There was no other people in the world. But God had to keep him alive, and it was a warning to all the animals, a warning to all the insects, snakes, anything poisonous that could kill him or hurt him or give him an infection that he couldn't get over, to stay away from this man. Do not help him or do not hurt him. Does that make sense? Now, because Aklima was his twin sister, they bore twins, Enoch and Awan. And Enoch and Awan bore Arad. There's 2 pictures written on the wall in Queensland, Australia. Besides that, Enoch and Awan were the first Aborigines. That's why you could have, she had to have blonde hair and blue eyes. And that's because all Aborigines can have a variation of green eyes and red hair, can have brown eyes and brown eyes and brown skin, or they can have black skin and black eyes. But they could have blonde hair and black skin. The oldest that came out, and it's also the oldest documented cave art in the world. It goes back 100,000 years. Well, let me tell you what the first cave art was. Cain drew it. The first cave, it was the family. Like you see on the back of a station wagon, it was Cain and Aklima holding the hands of Enoch and Awan. Twins holding the hands of twins. The only thing missing was the dog. He has that written on the cave. The next time when they had children, and that was right when she was finally mature enough to get pregnant. And so she was 12 or 13 years old. They just barely figured out she was a woman. Her mother had to explain that when she got pregnant. And she didn't just explain it to Awan, he had to explain it to Enoch as well. I mean, you don't think a teenager that doesn't know what's going on, they have to explain this? It was big time. But when Awan, Aklima midwifed Awan and he was born, he had Enoch help finish cleaning Awan up. While she took Aklima, took Arad, their son, to Cain. Now Cain drew another picture on the wall. He raised Arad, he went out the cave and he raised Arad up to God when the sun rise. At noontime, when the sun was directly overhead, he was holding Arad to his nose, like, smell him, God, smell him. It's beautiful. And then when sunset comes, he still had him up to God. And God said, when I can get there to Australia, they'll take me to go see it. They'll know I'm coming, and they will take me to go see the cave. Of course, they're not going to divulge where that cave is. I'll probably be one of the first people that ever was invited to go see it. These are the secrets I know. When I mentioned too that the Pison River was the reason for the longevity of people lived 1,000 years. In my day, and this goes, when I get thing, I'm going to be I've offered Enoch 1.9 E to the 19th power. That's $19 quintillion for his $409 billion. What God's starting with is starting out with like $50 quintillion. I will end up paying off my ministry, God's living ministry, will end up paying off every government debt. It's like there's $130 trillion in this world, and 34 trillion to 37 trillion is right here in the United States. 23 or 24 trillion is right there in China. Two of the biggest, how would you say, loan applicants or people that keep on borrowing money. We're the biggest borrowers in the world, basing it on what we can produce. And at one time it was based on oil. That was a bad thing, because that's when they started OPEC and everything. And when they started OPEC, they left out three of the biggest players in the world, which was Syria, Iraq, and Libya. Gaddafi wasn't a bad guy. You can go into Libya, and women wear colored headdresses, hijabs or whatever, transparents. They drive cars. They got college a free education all the way to becoming doctors. Gaddafi had every religion was allowed in there. There was no all religious freedom in Libya. And Bashar in Syria, Assad, he was doing the same thing, modeling Syria after Libya. Now, what country takes their people and liberates them to the fact that they have freedom of religion and they have freedom of choice? They didn't all have to. They could wear fancy, beautiful clothes. They didn't have to worry about being raped. They had a real society. That's what Gaddafi was trying to tell you. We called them loudmouths and enemies. Then we sided with Saudi Arabia, which didn't allow even women to drive. They didn't allow them an education until 1990. This is crazy that we support the ones that held people back, the ones that killed Saddam Hussein. You know why I know about Saddam? What I know about Saddam? Saddam was about to tell everybody about the Fountain of Youth, about the Payson River, the water that keeps people ageless, the water that people could take to regenerate their joints, their eyes, everything, kill everything there is. Now, when I get started this year in 2025 by Christmas, everybody's going to have the biggest Christmas ever this year in 2025. Next year, I'll be buying it and drilling that well in Iraq. And it's going to be free. I'm not charging for it. It's going to be free. You know what's going to be free? The internet's going to be free. But not just any internet. GPU internet's going to be free. That's where Jeff Bezos comes in. Yes, he developed, he got the money. His life has been protected all his life. He knows a lot, but he really, just like he's had his hands on Jeff Bezos all his life. And Jeff Bezos can go back and reflect on all the times since he was a child. You can go back too. Of course, you were raised in an upper class family and never did anything wrong. But the important thing about you is you wasn't really, God wasn't really doing you any favors. He's just making sure you lived, so you got the Microsoft created. I'm trying to, God's trying to talk to me too. He's trying to tell me too about the iPhone. He wasn't part of the 7 because the 7 included you, Melinda, she was right equal to you as CEO because she knew that much about Microsoft. She didn't get it by being just a woman. She got it because she knows as much as you about Microsoft. She's a smart woman, and God got her that far to infiltrate you because you wasn't exactly the right person on the job. Now, I told you about this drug for the tsetse fly might be the drug the doctor was talking about. I'm pleading with on this thing, this film I'm seeing now, it's going to be on public, and when the public sees it, I'm hoping to see the cardiologist in Cairo that came and stayed at the Safari Hotel and talked to me for like 2.5 weeks to give me the exact name of that same drug. Because here's what we had in store until before now. Every Christian world is waiting on revelations. No, it's not going to happen. God is at war with every religion right now. Because every religion, I was there in Palestine to stop that war. Nobody can claim God that is killing God, because God lives here, inside you. God lives in every breath you take. Every word you say, every heartbeat you have is shared by God. God first and then you. I was a crane operator for 35 years. You heard this in other films. If I was a crane operator for 35 years, nobody came between me and God. In my levers, except for God. He has to fire the synapses up here in this brain for me to move. Our six senses, and the sixth sense is thinking. We can think. It wasn't just feeling, tasting, seeing, hearing. You know, it was include them all. Think. We can think first. But most people say things without thinking, which is virtually what God is allowing that to happen. Because sometimes God is polite. He lets us speak first. He'll shut up and wants us to say the first word. But if God wants to say something, He'll say the first word. I got the gift of tongues when I was 50 years old. I'm 73 now. I'm 3 years older than you. And when I was 50 years old, I got to speak in tongues. But again, God let me know earlier, first part of last year, right after Christmas. Actually, right at Christmas. January 6th to be exact. I went to the Lakewood Church. And to get the donations, I thought the donations were just to help me get what I had to be. But no, he wanted me to see the Ayatollah in Tehran and get a donation to get the plane tickets and get there. Then when he told me to let him do all the talking first. Just keep my mouth closed and let him do all the talking. Which means speak in tongues. Well, I said, I don't even know what I'm saying. God says, Joe, that's never been you talking anyway. That's been me. You just provided me the mouth. God told me that. You see, when the person really speaks in tongue, it's not us talking anyway, and it's not ready to be. It's not doesn't need explanation or to be thing. It was because God's talking. I learned a few things. I know when God said kapotai, kapoti, shila kapotai means kapota means I am. I say I-E is spelled A-Y-E. Okay? So kapotai, K-A, and P-O-T-A, A, which he says I-E. Like everybody when they go to die, don't they? First thing they scream is I. Like they know they're gonna die and they call I. That's the word. That's God's name, according to God. When He says Sheila, that means listen. Sheila kapotai. Now don't repeat those words because you're not God. That's when people start exaggerating and say, "Oh, Sheila kapotai." No. Don't call yourself. Don't say this because you're not God. That's not the way it works. It's to know that what I told you is the name of God. It's the same thing He told Moses on Mount Sinai. People are seeing this in public, so they're going to know. In the future, the water's going to be available to cure everything because it's going to make you younger. As you drink it, it'll have to be, it'll be like one drop at a time in eyedroppers. You know what I'm saying? Don't take no more of this because you get too young too fast. You know what I'm saying? But it'll reach people that have macular degeneration like I do. Then we can look forward to having our eyesight back. People that have cancer, I had a resection, but I still had it, can get younger and get their body working better. They can get the cortisol, or the linings between their knees and their legs and their hands and their feet can be like brand new. Other than stem cell research, it's never been done. But you see, just this water, when I start providing this water for free, it'll be for free. So will the GPU. It doesn't need to be so strong because, see, I'm putting a stop to all data collection by voters. Everybody that gets GODScoin, there's supposed to be 9 billion people are going to get GODScoin. If you're between the ages 18 and 40, you will get a phone that is sensitive to your touch. And there was no two-factor identification. It knows your fingerprints. It knows your face. It knows your voice. It's got your hand geometry. What other verification? Do I have to prove that I'm me? The phone verifies who I am. Once it gets out of my hands too long, the bank's alerted. And the bank alerts the eye in the sky. And the GPS. The bank cameras are alerted as well. And they go hunting for the signal for your phone. The eye in the sky is going to be looking for you. And they're going to see who you are. They're going to watch you. The eye in the sky is going to catch you where you're at and follow that until authorities get to the phone, and they already know who stole the phone, who has the phone, and why. But that phone's going to allow every person in this world, 9 billion people, any 18-year-old that's older, to vote. How far is government going to get the way in? And when we vote to stop data collection, to stop the transferring the data, that stops blockchain. That stops everything. When I buy the GPU from NVIDIA can still have its name on it, but it's going to be free. I'm paying everybody with in this world with GODScoin. Now, you'll see that. You just keep on following me, what I'm saying, because I could use your help too. But I don't want to hear you coming up with any ideas against this or your own bright ideas. Nobody can outsmart God. We've already, this is no bigger a change than it was when God changed the languages, or when God decided to flood the world. He had to flood the world due to the Nephilim, the fallen angels and the Nephilim. They're in Enoch's days. The aliens were always. Of course, they're the ones that built the temples. They're the ones that built all these things that we can't figure out. It's like, you think they built it, these cultures? No. The cultures, the indigenous cultures that came off that ark. There was Nephilim on the ark. There was like 4 Nephilim on that ark. There was 2 on the ark, and then they had 4 underway as stowaways. And they were only in the ark for 12 months. 14 months altogether. But you'll learn about this. And in 14 months, these Nephilim, Naucleama, was the fathered Mizraim and Put, the brothers of Cush. 3 months apart, they were giants. Cush loved his brothers, Mizraim and Put, but they were giants, and they were born like 3 months apart because they were Nephilim. So they spoke Egyptian, and once actually Put spoke more Syrian. There's like 7 languages that started this world. I got a lot of. God's told me everything. Even what was up to was most of what God told me. Because He had me remember when you said that nobody should live past 50, and you belong to the New World Order. Back then, now it's the Old World Order. You guys were way off base. The people and the Christians looking for revelations are way off base. Paul is actually the Antichrist. 27 books of the Bible, and over 22 of them are speculated. Peter's followers, he was dumb enough to come back in 68 AD with 2 Peter, 3 Peter, 2 John, and 3 John, and they've been missing ever since 64 AD. Nobody know what they did. They were crucified in a dungeon away from everybody, even the jailers. Nobody could talk to them. They didn't want the jailers especially to talk to them. They might have been converted. But you see, they were crucified in a dungeon. Andrew and Peter. And his followers came back with those books, and then they came back with the book of Revelation, and they told them exactly where John was at. He was a prisoner on the island of Patmos in Ephesus. So the Christians that are making up all these rules and all these things, they actually killed more people. If God lives here and you're killing God, you have no right to claim God at all. Okay? Then the people don't ever fight for God. No, it's an everyday thing. We're a sick world, and that's what's going to stop. People divulge to think they own this world. You is one of them. No, you don't own this world, and you're not God. Not even Einstein, till he died, would finally agree there's an afterlife. He was not sure how he could fit in, but he did say there is an afterlife. I have proof of that. Okay? That's as far as he went. He didn't ever go any further than that. You know, even Jesus did not realize God was living in him. He knew he was right there at his, talking in his ear, but he's actually talking not in the ear, but from the ear. You know, it's like, but even Jesus didn't catch on. Everybody, God started when your father made the donation at the same time. God was making his donation of life. Either before your father came into your mother and conceived, God was either before or the split second after. It makes sense he'd be just a second before to open the door for your father to join her. And that was life, but that was also the beginning of life for the energy, that part of God inside him. Not God the Father, the Creator, because God the Father, the Creator, this is him giving part of himself. Like we give part of ourselves to have our children. Are we not created the same way? You live in your children, they live in us. It's the same thing for God. They're a son of God as well. But Jesus had no father. We have a physical father. I find out more and more each day. Day before yesterday, I find out that I follow the Bedouin religion more now. And the Bedouins are Muslims. They won't be called Islam. Why? Because they believe in Mary. They believe in Jesus. They believe in 25. Moses, Ezekiel, Elijah. These people were prophets, written in the Torah and in the Bible and the Quran, in the Bible and the Torah. They're written in the Quran. But there's two Qurans that they're paying attention to. One's in Medina that says he was gone for 10 years. He was gone for 10 years. He went there to create an army to come after us. No, they sent 10,000. Islam sent 10,000 of their army out of 13,000 soldiers to capture Muhammad, thinking he had an army. There was nobody. They found an old man living in a house by himself. That the Ethiopians had to carry him food for 8 years. For 2 years he lived with the Ethiopians, and they gave him refuge. That's how he knew about all these prophets and Christianity and Jesus. Now, why did they know about Christianity? Because the 3 wise men were the sons of Cush. The 3 wise men were the sons of Cush, one from the Red Sea, one's name was Hiddekel. I can't think right now, but the other 2 were there. They followed the star and found Jesus in the manger. And they followed Jesus with spies, Ethiopians, from the manger to the cross. They had their own Bible written. A whole lot of difference. But Paul manipulated 22 books of the 27 books in the Bible. Or 23 books, I'm sorry, of the 27 books in the Bible. Under speculation. Revelations wasn't written by them, it's written by Paul. Well, once they, in 68 AD, look it up, that's when Peter died. That's when that the mob killed Peter's. When they first found it, they read the books, and then they immediately killed Mark and Paul. Nero committed suicide. They keep from getting the same treatment as from the mob. Now, why would Paul have Christians, Pentecostal Christians, murdered Paul if he was the leader of a church? Now, he wasn't a leader of a church. He was an infiltrator. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing. He was the great deceiver. He was the Antichrist he wrote about. And one of his followers just happened to be Mark. Mark had a lot to do with the writing of scriptures too. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I've already extended this into a long video, but you understand. You soon will be all in also. And God wants to thank Melinda. You're not divorced, but you're going to still see the same video that you was raised all your life for God, with God right inside you, doing everything you wanted Him to do. The proof is you was CEO of Microsoft at one point. Nobody gets there unless they know what they're doing. You wasn't there because even before she was CEO, even before she got married. I believe. I'm not sure about that, but I'm pretty sure. You understand what I'm talking about? I'm going to cut this off because the world's going to see this. This is what the world's got to look forward to. The water that'll make everybody get rid of all big farm. All big farm's going to be gone. Only necessary drugs that we know of, like aspirin. This is what I'm saying. All big farms going out. Blockchain's going out. All data collection's going out. All soliciting's going out. All tax collection are going out. There's going to be 9 billion new voters in the world. There won't be tax collection. There won't be soliciting. There won't be anybody thinking at interfering with anybody's job. Nobody comes between the people and God. If God wants something, He'll tell you. So don't bribe us. Nobody has no business messing with anybody else. You better be the first to understand that. 73 years old, but you're not, I'm feeling a lot healthier than you are right now. And I'm going to get younger too, because I'm going to be drinking that water. I know where it's at. These are the things that the world's going to catch up on. When God says He's come to make heaven on earth, He means heaven on earth. It's not talking about revelations anymore. We're not talking about any of the BS. And nobody's going to be killing and claiming God. You don't claim God and you're killing God, you're killing everybody in their DNA and you're killing all your unborn. That's, nobody's ever thought of that, have they? When they kill somebody. About the unborn? Nothing anyway. This world has all your ancestors, all your deceased family. Everybody you know will be there. You'll see them that's the second you die. You're already living in them. You just come to realizing it, the spiritual side of things. You'll see the spiritual side of it come alive the second you die. Okay, I'm going to leave this now because I got to get it off. I made the longest video right now with you. This is going to Bill and Melinda. Melinda, good job. And you are definitely one that God's had his hand on all your life. Bill, God's had his hand on you all your life, but you haven't been appreciative of that. But he needed you to build. Steve, as far as Steve Jobs was inspired. What he called anyways, I can't, the word never thing, but it's the same as Dalai Lama. That got his understanding from the pineal gland. You know what I'm talking about? I can't even think of it. God always blocks that. He doesn't want me saying that. But you see, even Dalai Lama, even though he's inspired, he still thinks we can turn into a monkey. You know, or a bird. Anyway, you understand what I'm saying? They don't know God. You don't know God either. But you will know God. You see, what I'm saying is proof. How do I know these things? And what's going to happen? And GODScoin's going to happen. It's going to happen before Christmas of 2025. Everybody's going to be all in, the whole world and everybody. Then it'll be all on GODScoin. Everybody will have GODScoin. Everybody 18 will be working for God in God's services. I'm going to give a paycheck. You'll see that in those other things. Everybody's going to get a paycheck. Once you start seeing what God's going to do, it'll make sense. But just this video to you, I'm making public, and they hear a lot of this, what's going on. Because I'm compelling you people that have the richest money in the world, yeah, you're going to make it work. You're going to be making it work. While I'm in Egypt. I'm being in Cairo 2 weeks from now. Actually, on July the 20th is when I'm flying. That's going to be 3 weeks from now. Okay? I'm leaving this go. Melinda, love you. Thank you. Bill, I guess I love you too, because God still loves you. So, but you used to make me mad when you talked about nobody should die, live past 50. When God mentioned that, I remember that, because we were students at that college and everybody heard that, and we all talked about that. What are you going to do with those who are past 50? You going to kill them? Believe that. Euthanizing drugs for humans is legal in Canada and the Netherlands. That's what's crazy. That's what was in store for our people before they came with this, and I'm coming like as a bolt of lightning. And pick comparatively this year, everybody in this world will have GODScoin, and it's with your money, it's with Bitcoin's money, and I'm making Elon Musk a quintrillionaire, $19 quintillion. Jeff Bezos will be $11 quintillion. My whole economy thing is going to start on like $50 quintillion. Yes, so I'll be paying off all the debt, and I'm paying everybody in the world with mine, because GODScoin has a limit shelf life of 20 years. Use it or lose it. You got to spend it. Use it or lose it. It doesn't hang around. That way a newborn gets it, they have 20 years. Okay, I'm going to go now. That's enough to think about. The world sees these. Maybe this is going to convince them this is real. I have the one commodity that everybody in the world cannot deny. That's God. You can't deny you, God. You're breathing, aren't you? Your heart's beating, isn't it? Where is that power coming from? Not from electricity. You can't count on it. Not just because of the sun, because it's dark a lot. You understand? It's coming from God. The energy that's living in you is God. And God thinks. He's the one that inspires you. He's the first word that comes out your mouth, because like a crane operator, he's got to push the button or pull the lever for me to speak. Sometimes he lets me have the first word. Okay, I love you guys. I'm gonna go.